Season 1 of Tower of God is honestly incredible. Going back and rereading those chapters, it's filled with so much mystery and intrigue. The action is surprisingly good and the tests are very creative. But in my personal opinion, the highlight of Season 1 is the way that the story introduces us to the characters. There is so many phenomenal characters in Season 1, and today I'll be working with the guys over at AoA, the Apostles of Anime, to talk about the top 7 characters that we think are the best characters in Season 1. Number 7, Shibusu. When we first meet Shibusu, we just see him as the seemingly weak and average-looking regular who probably won't have any impact on the story, but you couldn't be farther from the truth. As you continue reading in Season 1, you see that Shibusu's role in the story is actually central, and the way that Shibusu interacts with all the other characters is phenomenal. So first of all, just seeing Shibusu grow and seeing that he actually is not just a weak regular, he actually has an intellect on par with Kuhn, it's amazing. And seeing his growth too, he goes from being somebody who seems like a coward to actually standing up to his enemies. The way that he stands up to the bull so that his friends can succeed in the test, it's honestly fantastic. And his determination that he showed in the hide and seek test is one of my favorite moments, to be honest with you. The way he's just like clinging to Quant and not letting him go. You get to see that Shibusu has started to care for his teammates and his friends, and he really isn't just a background character. In my opinion, Shibusu is one of the highlights of Season 1. I also love that he is just pure comic relief. I mean, anytime that Shibusu is on panel, you know you're gonna laugh, whether most likely at his expense, you know, but it's phenomenal. And it is also worth pointing out that Shibusu has a tragic past. We don't know what it is exactly as far as Season 1 is concerned, but he tells us that he's climbing the tower because of a promise he made to a friend. He's climbing the tower for that person. And it's left up in the air, it's only mentioned once, right? But Shibusu has a sad past that we don't know about. There's so much to this character, and I love the scene where he's the first one to reach out to Bomb, aside from Kuhn and Rack, right? Who were practically forced to reach out to him so that they could be teammates. Shibusu did it just to be friendly. Like, dude, Shibusu, my man, let's go. I just love that he's a kind person, you know? He's entering this bloodthirsty tower, but he's a good person. He's not doing it for any ulterior motive. He's doing it for a very pure reason. And for that, I think Shibusu definitely deserves a spot on this list.
Coming in at number 6, we have none other than Lero Rowe. Now, I find it interesting because Lero Rowe, along with a lot of rankers in specifically Season 1 of Tower of God, suffer from a similar curse as compared to some of our main characters. And that curse, in my estimation, is the fact that they aren't able to fully show off. And the fact that they're not fully able to show off gives us as an audience less of a clue about what these people are and what they're truly capable of. But there are 3 main reasons, in my estimation, why Lero Rowe deserves to be on this list of the top 7 characters. The first and arguably the most important point about Lero Rowe is that he serves as a teacher. But he doesn't serve as a teacher only to our main characters, our main cast. He also serves as a teacher to the audience. See, every time Lero Rowe sits Bomb down to talk about the tower and irregulars and how things work around here, or when he tells him to be wary of Kuhn, these moments also cue in the audience and the readers, the watchers, the viewers, how this tower works, what is allowed, what is not allowed in it. See, if it weren't for characters like Lero Rowe, some of the audience might be left up to their own devices, which one could argue is a good thing from time to time. But there are times, especially within the tower, especially with so many characters, and especially with such a broad and robust story, that we kind of need to be centered on what rules apply and what don't. Reason number 2 why Lero Rowe deserves to be on this list is not necessarily because of how he impacts the other characters or the audience as a whole, but how he carries himself. You see, Lero Rowe hasn't relegated himself to side character fodder. And the reason I know this is because Lero Rowe has intuition and introspection like none other, especially in Season 1. And not only does he have these skills, but he uses them to either constantly improve or pursue the truth. And reason number 3, which some could tie to number 2, is that Lero Rowe provides the opportunity for us as an audience to understand the truth, unlike some of the other characters, or better than them, at least when it comes to Season 1. Lero Ro, among some of these other rankers, have the ability to show the audience what this tower is really about, but not just from what he's been told, from what he has discovered. And that makes for an interesting story. That makes for a journey that I want to follow.
All right, guys, so I'm here to talk about our number 5 place on this list, and that is Endorosi Jihad. Now, when you first meet Endorosi, I think by design, you're supposed to hate this character, right? You're supposed to have that visceral gut reaction from her incredibly abrasive and confrontational personality. Again, I think this is done on purpose though, because once you learn about her origin story and sort of what makes her tick and her character flaws, especially in season 1, I think her character growth is actually one of the best in the entire season. Endorosi has this great quote that she actually says to Bomb during the hide and seek test in season 1, and it is, "You mustn't hesitate to hurt people, but you can't do that. No, it's better if you don't. You're better off leaving this sort of thing to bad girls like me." I think this perfectly encapsulates exactly where her headspace is when we meet her in season 1. However, at the end of the hide and seek test, and then moreover towards the end of season 1, because of her interactions with Bomb, you start to see her lighten up and maybe open up to the possibility that maybe relationships with people don't have to be something as cut and dry as who they are in terms of what their status is or what title they hold in a tower, but it are actually more about the people themselves. I think that Endorosi's character definitely deserves a spot on this list because despite her abrasive and rash personality, there's a real heart of gold. And I think there's a heart of somebody that does want to change, right? She recognizes these flaws. And again, especially thanks to people like Bomb and even Anak later towards the end of season 1, she starts to welcome, I think at the very least, the idea that the way she is now might not be the best way to go about especially becoming friends with all the people that she meets in season 1. And despite how hard it is for her to change, she's willing to make that change, or at the very least try. And I think that effort, that endurance to try in spite of the trauma that she's endured via her origin story is absolutely admirable.
Number 4, Hansung Yu. Hansung Yu is the antagonist, the primary antagonist of season 1, and at first you just think of him as another test guy, but then you learn he's practically in charge of the second floor when it comes to tests, at least while Evankel is away, and you start to learn as you read, everything that happens in season 1 is directly because of Hansung. Rachel getting injured, Ho betraying the group, everything. It's all because of Hansung's little manipulations and his guidance. It's crazy. He's been pulling the strings the whole time. But even as far as his character goes, he's someone who his motives are unclear. And because of all that mystery and intrigue surrounding him, you can't help but want to learn more about who this guy is. You know, you learn from Ren that he's a prodigy and he could have become a high ranker, but he stayed on the second floor. Like, why would he do that? What's going on? And the more you learn about him, the more mysterious he becomes. Any scene that Hansung is in is phenomenal. I absolutely love his character, and I think he's definitely one of the best characters in season 1. He's at number 4 on this list for a reason. And I love that despite the fact that we don't know his motive, we can still see a glimpse of it occasionally. So I love the scene where he's talking to Bomb and he reveals that he's the one behind everything. And he sees Bomb's determination for the first time, but just everything that leads up to that moment, you know, you're questioning, okay, obviously Hansung doesn't seem like a great guy, but is he a villain? Is he doing this for a good reason, or is he a bad person? Is he evil? What's going on? I think the reason that Hansung is such a great character is because of that mystery. It's A+. Hansung Yu, one of the best characters in season 1.
Coming in at number 3, we have Rachel. Now, hang on, guys, that's weird. Isaiah's calling me. Yo, what's up?
Yo, listen. About the list thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
You can't put Rachel on.
But why not? We already have her on the list.
Bro, what do you mean, why not? She's ass, bro. Everything about her is ass. Her face is ass. Her legs are ass. Mine's ass.
Yeah, but we have to have her on, dude. She plays a pivotal role in the first season of the show.
Dude, she's like the most hated character in the entire roster.
Dude, I know. Listen, I don't like this as much as you do, but It has to be done.
All right, whatever. I'm not a part of this.
Anyway, getting into Rachel, I know some of you may be up in arms about Rachel as a character. You may hate her. You may despise her, especially after watching season 1, especially after reading past season 1. Every time this character comes on panel, every time this character comes on screen, especially after we find out what she did, it invokes this visceral gut feeling of hatred and rage. Or maybe it evokes a feeling of defensiveness. Maybe it invokes a feeling of sympathy. And maybe, even to some, this character could be, dare I say, relatable. And that, though, friends, that is why this character deserves number 3 on this list. That is why this character is so important to the story. There are a couple reasons why Rachel has such an impact on the story, why she invokes that emotion from you. Let's break it down. Number 1, Rachel is the biggest, and some might argue the single driving force for Bam in all of his decisions in going up this tower, in participating in these tests, in trying. And let's be honest, if Bam didn't start doing any of this, if he didn't continue doing any of this, we don't have a story. Most people probably don't like to admit it, but I, among others, were rooting for Rachel all throughout the course of season 1 of this story. I felt for Rachel. I had sympathy for her. My heart went out to her, and I was rooting for Bam and her to be able to ascend this tower together. Like Rachel or not, she has split the fan base of Tower of God like no other character has. And in doing so, Rachel has opened the door for debate. Debate on her justification in terms of the decisions that she makes. The intrigue about where she is going and why. And will she get there? And the curiosity that follows it in what Rachel actually wants. And at the end of the day, no matter which side you fall on, you have to admit that this character has done wonders for keeping this audience engaged.
All right. And the character that we have for second place on our list is none other than Kuhn Aguero Agnes. So, for anybody who's been following our channel for a while, you already know where I stand with this character, but this is a collective effort here and a joint list, so we all did come to the conclusion that Kuhn deserves second place on this list, and I'm going to tell you why. When we first meet Kuhn, very opposite of the spectrum of the main character's moral compass, Kuhn is somebody who is very willing to cross gray lines and sort of do dirtier or sneakier tactics in order to underhand his opponent and get what he wants. However, once he meets Bam, this is something that's challenged and almost starts to take a different shape in Kuhn in the form of now he wants to use the tactics at his disposal to protect the people that he cares about. We see a little bit of this in his backstory, although it's a little bit clouded, at least at the beginning of season 1, as to exactly what circumstances happened, what he did like for people in his family, what he did for Maria, this woman that he talks about. But we do know that Kuhn is absolutely an incredibly great character, which I think is fun. I mean, you know, say what you will, but the bad boy type of character, the character who's willing to do the things that like the main character, let's say, because of moral reasons can't, is exciting. And it's a great sort of like foil in any sort of storytelling. Now, next reason is a little bit more shallow, but I think it absolutely still stands. And that's just Kuhn is incredibly intelligent. I actually think that Kuhn has the potential to be one of the smartest characters, if not the smartest character in the entire tower. Now, granted, I'm talking about very, very end game, but my point stands is that a lot of the tactics, a lot of the strategy that Kuhn and his friends have utilized to get to where they are now is all because of Kuhn. I mean, we have his friends, you know, like Rack, and we have Bam and various people using their abilities, but Kuhn here is the master chess player, right? Kuhn understands and knows how to utilize everybody's abilities. He knows their strengths and weaknesses and knows exactly where to put all of these different chess pieces to make sure that everybody is being optimized to their fullest. We see it in things like the hide and seek test at first, which is absolutely amazing, that he manages to sort of pull all of these different veils over people's eyes and outmaneuver people like Quant, a ranker. But we see that not only is he able to sort of, you know, outright outsmart people, but that like his tactics extend and his plans are much more long-term than most people ever give him credit for, right? So like, let's take the hide and seek test, for example. That whole section was never about making his team win. It was about making sure that Bomb passed. So this is a character who, again, has established himself as incredibly smart, incredibly cunning, and incredibly sneaky, and incredibly willing to blend or blur that sort of, you know, black and white area when it comes to what's right to do and what's not right to do. Kuhn actually has a quote that he says to Bomb when he first meets him, which is, "It's natural for you not to trust me, but I don't care about the rules anymore because I've decided to go up the tower with you." I think this perfectly encapsulates exactly where Kuhn's head is at the middle of and more towards the end of season 1, because Kuhn's, again, his trajectory here has shifted from I'm going to do what I want to be a ruler to I'm going to do what I want to protect and or go up the tower with Bomb.
And finally, number 1 on this list is Anak Jahad. It's easy to glance over Anak when you first meet her with Hots and Shibusu. They're obviously really strong characters and they're really cool, but you look forward to them as side characters. But Anak just blows that away. The more you read, once again, you realize that Anak is actually the center point of season 1, or at least one of the main center points of season 1. Many of the things that happen are directly because of her. Ren showing up and being the wave controller teacher, Endorosi changing even, and a lot of the things that happen are because of Anak. And throughout all of that, you see her grow and you learn more about who she is. She goes from being a side character who's really cool and has this cool weapon, right, to actually practically the second main character of season 1. And you might not think that right away, but let me explain. We get to see other characters' backstories. We get to see Bomb talking about himself in the cave. We get to see Endorosi talk about her time when she had to kill her fellow competitors and all that. But when you see Anak's backstory, it takes on a whole new level. It practically dedicates an entire chapter to it, and you get to see everything that has built up to her current point in the story, and it's on a whole new level, right? And then from then on, her involvement is paramount. It can be so easy to see Anak as a side character, but she really is absolutely integral, and you get to see growth in other characters like Endorosi and Bomb, but Anak's is absolutely vital to season 1. Like, she's a character that if you took her out of season 1, it's not the same. You could do that for a lot of other characters, but not with Anak. I absolutely love all of the moments with Ren where she's struggling to keep fighting on for her mother, and she just loses it when she sees the gemstone that he has, you know, and it's such a brutal scene where he's kicking her when she's on the ground, but you get to see that Anak, she's so much more than just a bratty little princess lizard, you know? She's constantly on the run. The tower itself is against her, and yet she is not letting it get her down. She's going to keep climbing no matter what. And I absolutely love that. It's also one of the first times we get to see body reinforcement with Shinsu's, with Anak, and again, fighting Endorosi. I absolutely love their relationship. It's so well done. We get to see SIU's writing at its finest, honestly. Seeing Anak and Endorosi interacting, you think they hate each other, but really, they start to care for each other as sisters, or Endorosi being her aunt. To top that all off, when Yuri takes away her green April at the end of season 1, it leaves you with a question of, what's Anak gonna do? Who's she gonna become? She no longer has one of her crutches, in a way. Relying on the green April meant that she couldn't grow, and not just in terms of fighting ability, but it was one of the only things she had of her mother, actually the only thing that she had. So getting that taken away from her meant that she had to start to become her own person. I absolutely love Anak, particularly in season 1, and me and AoA think that she more than deserves her spot as number 1 on the list. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you want to see another video just like this one, then definitely go check out the Apostles of Anime, because they just released a new video titled Top 5 Abilities in Season 1 of Tower of God. I'm in that one as well. We break down what we think are basically the most overpowered abilities, rank them next to each other. It's a lot of fun, so that video and the Apostles of Anime channel are both linked down below. Again, huge thank you to the Apostles of Anime for coming on, and with that, we'll see you guys in our next Tower of God discussion video. Take care.